honestly think Canelo Alvarez might need a knockout to beat Terence Crawford. It's really not going to be easy to beat a guy like Bud. Like, I've looked at it, I've studied the film, you know, for months now, ever since the fight got announced. It's just hard for me to see Canelo Alvarez beating Terence Crawford. He's going to have to stop him. He's going to have to stop him or hurt him, because if not, I don't see how Canelo beats him. I think this might be a very boring fight for, you know, all you boxing fans. I know everybody's anticipating the hype. Me, as somebody, you know, covering the sport, I want to be excited, but every instinct and judgment leads me to believe that this could be a boring fight and that Terence Crawford's going to win it by decision. You know, I don't think Crawford's going to hurt Canelo. I don't think Crawford's going to drop Canelo, but I think he's going to beat him in a decision. You know, I'm not saying that Canelo can't hurt Crawford, but at the end of the day, you know, Canelo hasn't stopped a guy in a while, and for me to believe that it's going to be Crawford, it's a hard thing for me to do. And I respect Canelo. I think he's a very tough fighter. I respect him as a businessman and everything. You know, I think he has power, but I think he has let his foot off the gas towards the latter end of his career, hasn't pushed himself to his fullest potential, and I think that's going to get exposed against Terence Crawford when they fight September 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I still think that Canelo's a great fighter. I still think he's a Hall of Famer. Everybody knows that. I don't have to say that, but I think Crawford's going to beat him. And, you know, I'm not even the biggest Crawford fan in the world. I just think head to head, you look at a guy like Crawford, and I know he hasn't looked tremendous at 154, but that was one fight. You know, if you put him in there against any other 154 pounder, he's probably going to cook most of those guys. And I know that he's not a huge fighter. I know that Canelo's going to be that naturally bigger fighter, and he's been at that weight class. Of course, that's something to take into account, but also understand that Canelo is the same height as Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford has the longer arms, and Terence Crawford is the faster fighter, in my opinion. So I think Crawford is going to win a decision, but I think it's going to be a pretty boring fight. You know, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I think it's going to be a boring fight, because I don't think you guys are going to get a knockout. I think you're going to see Terence Crawford sit in the pocket, though. I think that's going to be the main interesting thing, and that's where we're going to find out the million-dollar question. When Terence Crawford is sitting in that pocket, because a lot of people think he's going to run. I don't think Terence Crawford's going to run, but the million-dollar question is whether or not Terence Crawford can handle Canelo's biggest shot, and I think he's going to be able to, and I think it's going to be proven on September 13th, because I think to beat a guy like Terence Crawford, you got to have good feet and you got to have fast hands. You know, respect to Canelo Alvarez, but judging from his most recent fights, he has low output and he loads up on one big shot, and it's pretty easy to telegraph if you're a guy like Terence Crawford. I mean, this guy has probably the highest IQ alongside guys like Naoya Inoue and Alexander Usyk. Bivol, like, these guys, including Terence Crawford, have such high IQ. Not that Canelo doesn't. Canelo has a lot of experience, but he also has miles on him. So I feel like his conditioning isn't firing the way it was, you know, when he was younger, obviously, which is expected. But I think Crawford is going to expose Canelo. And I'm a Canelo fan, I'm a Crawford fan, you know, but neither fighter is like my favorite fighter ever. But I do see Crawford beating Canelo. I just don't see how Canelo gets it done other than a knockout. He's going to have to hurt Bud. And I understand, you know, I used to use that logic. I was silly enough to pick Crawford to lose against Errol Spence Jr. because I was saying, oh, he's been hurt by Gamboa, he's been hurt in the lower weight classes. But the thing is, to beat a guy like Terence Crawford, like I said, you got to have fast feet. You don't have fast feet, you don't have fast hands, you're not going to beat Terence Crawford. You need the hand speed, you need the foot speed, and coordinated feet. You know, if you don't have educated feet, you're not going to be able to hurt him. You're not going to be able to confuse him or make it a difficult fight. Canelo's style, what if I told you Canelo's style is tailor-made for Terence Crawford to beat him by decision? You know, what if I told you Canelo has way more power, but it's not going to matter because Terence Crawford's feet are better than Canelo's feet, and that Canelo's IQ is great, but Terence Crawford's IQ is greater. I think that's going to be the story of the fight. You know, I do really believe, like, a lot of you guys are going to bet that Canelo knocks out Terence Crawford, right? Or a lot of you guys are thinking that Canelo's going to knock out Terence Crawford. The thing is, that's the only way he's going to win. He's not going to win in 12 rounds unless he hurts him. He's really going to have to either hurt Terence Crawford or knock him out, put him to sleep, because otherwise I don't see him beating him. I think the more intelligent choice, you know, which is against the grain, obviously, is to pick Terence Crawford by decision. I don't think that Canelo's going to land that money shot that's going to sleep Terence Crawford. I just don't see it happening. But you know, I understand weight classes for a reason. I just think Crawford has the higher IQ and he has that deeper bag. And I think that, you know, he's going to use the footwork. He's going to use the foot speed and hand speed to his advantage, the reach advantage. And I just think it's going to be a disaster for Canelo. And, you know, Canelo's going to get exposed by Crawford come September 13th. But let me know in the comments what you guys think down below. But like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's been your boy Matt with Naz Boxing. Tune in for the next one. Catch you guys later. Bang, bang, bang. Peace.